with these guys. I'm not really a big fan of the distraction roll-up finish. But it's
especially if they're not going to hook the tights. A very, very small, minute thing. But give me... I don't care. It's here I am getting a little too analytical. It's 3 seconds no matter how you slice it, right? So whether you're surprised by the roll-up or you're not surprised, they still have to hold you down for 3 seconds. At least if it's a distraction roll-up and you hook the tights, it's a little extra added emphasis because the guy didn't... I said emphasis. I'm going to do that from now on.
Okay.
Yeah. At least it's a little more believable, but I also don't like the roll-up. Am I too smarky to want him to grab the tights in that situation?
No, I understand. I mean, I think, I guess it's like the hooking the tights thing is like a heel type move, but if you're gonna get a cheap roll up win, that's almost kind of a heel move too. I think like if you're just winning off a distraction type situation, like taking advantage. But I don't really know. But it's fine. I mean, Dean Ambrose is the IC champion, so I don't like when champions get pinned. So I thought him not getting pinned is the right call. And then after the match, Wyatt tried to make. Again, try to keep Orton and Harper from fighting. Later in the show, Wyatt said that next week on SmackDown, it's going to be Orton versus Harper. So they'll be going one-on-one on next week's SmackDown.
That feud is playing out almost picture perfect. I think they're doing everything right. It's a slow build and it's not a slow build. It's good because each week something happens, but you're not beaten over the head with it with 10 segments each week on SmackDown. So I love the way that feud's going, and it's actually making me feel bad for Harper. So they're doing something right. So hopefully Rowan comes back next week and gets back into the picture, but we'll see. So yeah, did you what'd you think of the Dolph Ziggler trying to kill Jerry the King Lawler
in King's Court? Well, I think. I guess it was neat. Lawler hasn't been gone for that long. It was neat to have him back. The show was in Tennessee, so it was his home state. It was nice to see him back. He was back in the old school Jerry the King Lawler attire and robe, doing the interview segment. He called out Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler obviously has had some, kind of turned heel basically the last week or two. He's been having issues with some of the faces like Kalisto and Apollo Crews. So they did this segment where Lawler tried to ask him some questions. Ziggler was basically not responding to questions at first, which I think is what I'm going to start doing at work from going forward.
Yeah, I think I should start doing this on the show.
So not answer
we get
people.
More ratings. I'll just have to talk.
No, that's ridiculous. That's not right. We can't have that. But so then eventually he did come around, and they brought up the whole deal when Jerry Lawler has a heart attack on Raw, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He'd had a match with Ziggler earlier in the night. And Ziggler had, elbowed him in the chest several times, and it was kind of, I think, almost like an inside joke between them that may have caused his heart attack. But now that Ziggler's healed, they're trying to play it up a little.
Are you okay with them using that in storyline, Lawler's heart attack?
I think if Lawler's okay with it, then I'm okay with it. And if he's okay with them, I think remember shortly after he came back, right from the heart attack, I think CM Punk and Paul Heyman did like a ridiculous promo on it, and like Heyman faked a heart attack in the ring and like all this stuff.
Oh my god, I totally forgot
about that. So that's like way worse than it is. But
although Dolph Ziggler did admit to attempted manslaughter.
It's true. So anyway, he just kind of once Lawler ended up saying that either way, like he was trying to tell him that his changing attitude was not good for his career. Ziggler wasn't going for it, and then Lawler ended up saying he was going to be either way he was going to be a loser, and then Ziggler super kicked him in the chest. And that's when JBL tried to run into the ring and tripped all over himself and tried to help Jerry Lawler. So.
Good old JBL.
Good old JBL. So I thought the segment was fine. I mean, I think they're at least, for somebody like Ziggler who's been around a while, they just turned him. They're trying to put some focus on his turn and kind of keep him in the, on the show regularly. So I didn't, and Lawler being back in Tennessee, I had no issue with.
It was kind of a shoot too when Lawler was like, you've changed your attitude like 5 times, but you're still a loser. That's like a shoot because Ziggler has always a bridesmaid and never a broad, right? He never made it to the dance.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
That is, I don't think that's what they say.
And did you also see that they announced that Jerry Lawler was going to be calling the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks?
I did. I don't care. I assume they're going to have Lawler be an entrant, right? Is that going to happen?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think of that. I thought maybe they would do something to play off the Ziggler situation. Maybe they won't. I don't know how deep they'll get into it. But I thought that was neat. It's going to be, what, I said, Cole Cole, Graves, and Lawler, I think, are going to call the Rumble.
Morrow? No Morrow?
I don't think so. I thought I saw Cole, Graves, and Lawler, but if that's what I read, and then who knows if they change their mind in the next week and a half. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you, I've soured a little bit on Jerry the King Lawler. Not because of my I'm going on a tangent here, so bear with me. Not because of my diehardness for ECW and me being a super Mark 10-year-old and him burying Tommy Dreamer week after week, but because I'm, speaking of a super Mark, I'm going back to the beginning of the Royal Rumble, and I'm watching all of the Royal Rumbles in a row. I'm up to 98, and what I realized is that Jerry Lawler, for better or for worse, is a poor man's Bobby Heenan. Now, I don't want to say, okay, maybe poor man's Bobby Heenan is a little strong, but listening to Bobby Heenan call the Royal Rumble in 93, 94? 92, 93.
Bobby Heenan?
Yeah, 92, 93.
Yes.
And then 2 years later, hearing Jerry the King Lawler call the Royal Rumble, it is two completely different call types, still trying to do the same thing of like be funny and, you know, stuff like that. And whereas Bobby Heenan is funny and he kind of gets guys over, Jerry Lawler is like just like annoying. I don't mean to be that guy, but I cringed when I heard him on commentary because it wasn't funny and it really wasn't witty. Whereas Heenan was like witty and hilarious. So do you share the same opinion on Lawler on commentary?
No, I mean I think Lawler used to be good on commentary. I think he used to be entertaining on commentary, but I don't know how many years I could like quantify that he's not been good. It's been at least like
24, 25?
5 or 6 or 7 years at least, I would say, right? And I don't know if that coincides with Jim Ross, you know, moving to SmackDown and then leaving the company or not. I don't know. It just seemed like he I don't know if he became lazy or whatever the deal was, but like there was
complacent.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But like he just wasn't really adding a lot to the shows. Now I heard that when he was on SmackDown the last like year that he did SmackDown with Morrow, much of which I did not see or hear because I only really started getting back into SmackDown when they did the brand split. But I heard that he was better. I don't know if that's true or not, but just like he just wasn't the same guy. He used to have a lot of energy. He used to tell some of those jokes. He was very into, very active on commentary. But it just seemed like he became very like I don't know, mellowed out and stuff like that. This was not as good.
Yeah. Speaking of active on commentary, did you know that Otunga is still there?
I don't know. Yeah, I try not to pay attention.
It's okay. He talks every 40 to 50 seconds anyway. So
yeah.
That led us to the main event. We didn't start that, right? We went off on a tangent. No,
we went off on a tangent. Yeah.
Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch. I did not see this match, so this is all. This is your call, buddy.
Yeah, so they did it inside a steel cage. So it was the first time.
Whoa!
They did the match inside a steel cage.
Okay, pump the brakes, Johnny.
This is a PG podcast, my friend. All right.
Okay.
Just poopy jokes and wrestling. So it was Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch in a steel cage for the SmackDown Women's title. I guess the sidebar to this whole feud was the La Luchadora stuff that was going on, where Becky Lynch had dressed up as La Luchadora and beat Alexa Bliss in a match. Then Alexa Bliss had dressed up as La Luchadora and interfered in a match against Becky Lynch, in which she then tapped out again. So it led to this match being made. So they wrestled for, it looks like, about 11 minutes. And the end of it, of course, was that the cage door was open. Someone dressed up as La Luchadora ran out, distracted Becky, and I think hit Becky with some sort of a kick. And then Alexa Bliss ended up winning the match in about 11 minutes. So they then had a post-match brawl, and Becky was getting the better of it and unmasked La Luchadora as Mickie James. So the rumors had been that Mickie was going to come back to SmackDown. She had signed a 3-year contract. Once the La Luchadora thing started, I think there were some internet rumors that she may debut as La Luchadora, which is what she did here.
They were saying her Tamina, right? I heard that.
Yes.
Or Deonna Purrazzo, who was La Luchadora, but
yes,
now is probably wrestling for WCW at this point because she's been in every major organization.
Yes, she may have been on TNA tonight for all I know. Excuse me, Impact Wrestling.
Thank you. Risen from the ashes like the phoenix. Or an owl. I still don't know what their logo is.
Something like that, yeah.
I think
it could be a rooster for all I know.
That's a good one, buddy. That's a good one. Classic. So Was it a good match though? The actual physicality in the match?
It wasn't bad. I mean, it's about the normal for them, I would say. I mean, that's like it's nothing great, but it's not terrible or anything like that. And they've, again,
actually, I have a quick question for you. At the end of the match, did everybody run around crying and parading around because women got 2 main event SmackDown?
Not that I saw on air, so I don't know if that happened.
So they just had a good title match in a cage as the main event, and that was it.
Yeah.
They didn't have a parade?
No, not that I saw. Again, I don't know if anything happened in like the dark match, but no, I don't.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And guess what? The women's title match should have main evented on SmackDown because it was the only title match on the card, and it was in a cage. And if there was a pay-per-view, and there was a men's title match, and an IC title match, and the women's title match, and the women's title match was in a cage, that should absolutely main event the pay-per-view because that's a spectacle. But it's not groundbreaking. So, awesome. God, just SmackDown is just so much better.
They're making history, bro.
They're not making... Every single week they're making history. It's a revisionist history. But kudos to SmackDown. It's a 2-hour show, and you got yourself three solid matches. Just looking at the card... AJ versus The Miz, Dean Ambrose versus Randy Orton, and Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch in the cage. Those could realistically be 3 pay-per-view matches.
Yes, they could.
I thought that was really good booking on SmackDown's part. And while I didn't see the main event, I'm going to watch it tonight. I enjoyed what I saw. So I can't realistically give my grade for the show. I want you to grade it for me.
I'll give it a B.
A B. That's... Yes. Let's go, SmackDown. Loving that show. All right, so we are once again going to take a little quick break, and we're going to come back with Joe's favorite part of the show, the 5 count. All right, and we will be right back.
Attention, everyone. This is Allie, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio.
So nice.
Right? Why is nobody that nice?
Such a nice lady.
I wish I... I think people that are satisfied and happy in their life are the nicest.
Yeah.
Is that
one day? I hope to meet somebody like that.
That's was a dig. Was that a dig at me?
No,
that was a dig, man. That
wasn't directed towards you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
I am fine now.
Anyway, it's about time for Joe's favorite segment and mine.
Top 5.
The 5 count. Piggybacking off of Joe's utter disdain for everything living, breathing, now, and ever, this week's edition of the 5 count is going to be 5 things that pissed you off in the year 2016. Unfortunately, Joe's answer of 2016 was not accepted. So
the
entire year. And 2017, I also did not accept because that was not 2016. So, who's starting this one? Me or you? As usual, we're gonna snake it like a toilet.
Wow,
snake it like a toilet.
Right.
There we go.
There you go.
It sets the stage for this segment here.
All right. I can go first if you'd like.
All right, why don't you go first? Why don't you? Really grind your gears.
Chapped.
Shafts your ass in 2016, huh?
So I was trying to think of all the things that really bothered me about wrestling in 2016. And one of the things that I thought of that I'm going to put at number 5 on my list was the WWE draft special that they had last summer when they split the brands.
Okay.
So I remember I was pretty pumped for that show, and I think the brand split was a good idea. So, and I think it's been.
We watched that at my place, right?
We did. Yeah, we did. And I think that the part about it that I didn't like was how they executed the draft. So I didn't like that they basically had Mick and Stephanie and then D. Bryan, Shane at podiums on the stage just calling out wrestlers 2 and 3 at a time, and nobody walking out on stage. I thought they could have done something cool, like an actual draft. Somebody walks out, they give them a little Smackdown t-shirt or something like that, or they maybe create some feuds that way. They did none of that. They just basically set up Seth Rollins as number 1, and they showed the picture of Seth Rollins, and that was pretty much it. And then they just went right on
because they had to get to some bullshit matches.
Yeah, so it was not a good. I didn't like the way they executed that. I thought it could have been a lot better. They should have had all the wrestlers at the show. They should have showed them all backstage, as they were getting, they used to do that when they first did the brand split. That's what they had. Everybody was in the locker room, guys would get drafted, they'd show their reaction, or they would come out on stage and be like stuff like that. They didn't do any of that here. So I was kind of disappointed in the show itself and how it was executed.
That's a good one. I didn't even think about that one. And to go off on a sidebar, I remember watching people's like reactions to the draft in the locker